All right, we are going to be working on section 7.2, page 1, computations with decimals. So go ahead and pause the video, read the rounding rule, and then I'll explain it to you through some examples. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully that all made sense. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to round each of these decimals to the indicated position. So it tells us that we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. So the first thing we're going to do is start at the decimal point and we're going to say tenths, hundredths. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this number so that I have a little room. Okay, then you are going to say tenths, hundredths, and then draw a line after that. Okay, then you will look at the digit to the right. If it is a 5 or above, you bump that one up. If it is below a 5, you don't do anything, you just cross off the extra digits. So in this case, since this is not 5 or above, we leave this alone and we write 18.09. We get rid of that regardless, and that is our rounded number. So notice it's tenths, hundredths. Okay, next one. Let's write it again, 18.0991. We're rounding it to the nearest hundredth again. So tenths, hundredths, draw the line. Then we're looking at this digit. Because it's 5 or above, we want to bump that one up. So it's a 9. Sometimes people get confused when it's a 9, but you want to bump it up. What's the number that comes after 9? 10. So you're going to write 18.10 and then drop those digits. You're done. Okay? So here, when you're thinking about these, the way I want you to think when you're rounding is pretend like you had to pay an amount of money. What does it make more sense to pay? 18.909, like $18.09, because, that's only a very small amount of a penny. So it's closer to 9 cents. Whereas here, when you look at it, isn't it closer to 10 cents when you have 9.1 there? It's very close to 10 cents. That's why you're paying the 10 cents. Okay, back to this one. So this one says 123.987. And they want us to round to the nearest integer. Okay, so that means integers, remember, are not decimals. They do not have anything. They're just the whole numbers. So we have to chop it right here. Okay, so we look at the digit to the right. It's a 9. We're going to bump it up. So what would we bump this up to? A 4, or 124. Okay. We're looking at this one here, 544.544. So what does this one say? The nearest hundred. Okay, this was saying hundredth, so we went to the right of the decimal point. This one says hundred, so we want to go to the left. Be careful here. Ones, tens, hundreds. So we draw our line right there. We want to make it to the hundreds. So we're looking at this digit here. It's a 4. It is not 5 or above, so we just drop. We leave this alone and we drop. So we write 5, but we want to be in the hundreds. If we just write a 5 and that's it and drop all the other digits, we've lost its place. So we want it to be 500. Okay, we don't put a decimal point and we don't put any digits after that. We just write 500. That's it. Okay, go ahead and you're going to do your classwork now. We're not going to do this activity, unfortunately. So just pause the video, do your classwork. Then when you come back, go ahead and read your rule, and then I'll show you how to do those. All right, so we know that we have to line up our decimal point when we add decimals. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to keep nice, neat columns. So be careful when you do this, 38.89. Okay, so it's just like when you add up money. You have to add up those decimal points. So here, when there's nothing there, we can go ahead and just put in a 0. Let's put it in a 0, okay? So 4 and 0 is 4. We're adding here. 3 and 9 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 and 8 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. Carry the 1. Ooh, I'm using the wrong words, aren't I? We're exchanging, aren't we? We're exchanging those into the next column. So 1, 1, and 8, that's going to give us 10. So write down a 0 and exchange in for a 10. And then 3 and 1 is 4. So that's our answer. Didn't read the directions, did I? We'll estimate afterwards. 1.234 is pretty close to 1. And 38.89 is pretty close to 39. If we add those together, we get 40. So we'd expect our answer to be pretty close to 40, and sure enough, it is. Let's try to do the next one right. Okay, so let's estimate first. Now, I want to make this easy. I don't want it to be hard. The more specialized you, okay, let me just explain. 591.67 is very close to 600. If I'm trying to do this in my head, I don't want to say it's 592. I don't even want to say it's 590. I want to say it's pretty close to 600. And what is 3.8 pretty close to? 4. I want to make it into nice big numbers. Now, it's not going to be as precise, but it's going to give us an estimate. So when we subtract that, we get 596. Okay, so let's see what we get here. We get 591.67, and we're subtracting, line up the decimal points, 3.821. And we're subtracting. Okay, so once again, we need to put in a 0 here so that we have something in that column. So we cannot say 0 minus 1, so we have to go over here and borrow, make this a 6, and bring back a 10. So 10 minus 1 is 9. Well, now we can't, oh yeah, we can. 6 minus 2 is 4. 6 minus 8, no, we can't. So kind of wish I had another color, but we'll go over here and make this a 0. 16, so that's an 8. Put in your decimal point, can't do that one. So let's go over here and make that an 8 and 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. And then an 8 and then a 5. Okay? So we end up with what? We end up with 587.849. I was just checking to see if it was accurate. So we're going to talk about that in a second. It's quite a bit away from my estimate, isn't it? But you got to remember, you estimate, or I decided to estimate 591 as 600. So we're going to be off a bit. Probably would have been better to estimate this as 592 if we wanted to be more accurate, minus a 4. And then what would we get? We would have gotten 588. And that would have been a lot closer. If you want to check this, how would you check it? If you add these two up, you should equal what you started with, and that would be a good way to check. Okay, go ahead and stop the video, pause the video, do your classwork, and then come back and we'll talk about the next problems. Okay, so it says for each sequence of numbers, write the numbers in order of increasing size. That means least to greatest. Okay, so when we look at these and we start looking at the digits, we say, okay, the ones are the same. It's like alphabetizing. So if they both start with the letter A, you have to go to the second letter. The second letter is B, you have to go to the both, or B, you have to go to the third letter, and so forth. So that's what we're doing. We're going, okay, 1, they're both 1s. Then they go 2, 3, 4, 5. They both go the same until we get here. Okay, that's where they differ. So what would be smaller? Think in terms of money, what you would rather have. You'd rather have a 1 than a 0. So to write them in order, we would say this one with the 0 is smaller, and the one with the 1 is larger. Okay, so that's smaller. This is larger. Okay, that concludes page 1. Turn off your video, start the next video.